If you're watching this video, we are no longer live. Today I'm going to show how I clean my rims and sand the cup using the hanging method. Robin Wheeler's hanging method. I have a live already demonstrating how I do the hanging method. This was the next step. I apologize for taking so long. It's been storming here in Houston quite a bit, and the power's been in and out, so I haven't really been in the garage. And then like Sunday, I came out in the garage and I was gonna do some stuff Sunday night, and there was a spider on the inside of my mosquito netting. It's not a phobia, but I'm pretty scared of spiders. So I sprayed Home Defense all over the garage, all over my mosquito netting, probably all over my cups. I'm gonna have to clean them with alcohol and everywhere. Hey, Jackie. And yeah, it was a couple of days before I felt comfortable getting back in there. So I think that probably happened Saturday. Or maybe Sunday, because today's Wednesday. So today I'm going to go over how I clean the rim when I do the hanging method. If y'all can see it, there are like little drips here on it from when the epoxy drips down. So I'm going to demonstrate how I clean that up and how I sand my cup for the people that were interested. Oh, cool. Jackie, you're doing a cup. I'm going to wait for a couple people to join the live, see if anybody's interested. I'll go over the things that I use. I use sandpaper that comes in sheets, and I cut them in little squares. This one is 220 grit. I also use 120 grit, but I don't have any more of those. And I use sanding blocks. 400 is the finest sanding block I have, finest grit. It works fine. I don't have any problems. It gets it nice and smooth and everything. I use an X-Acto knife to cut around my edges. I also use my weeding tool from my Silhouette, sometimes to pick if there's like epoxy down on the inside of my cup. I have goggles that I sometimes wear when I remember. I don't always remember, but I try to when I'm using my Dremel. I put the link to the Dremel I use in the description. I got these containers from the dollar store, and they're pump containers, and inside of here is 100% pure acetone. Hold on one second. Okay, so I get the Dremel battery. I use a Dremel 7300. I put the link to that in the description, and it's just a small Dremel tool. My daughter also uses it to do her nails, and this is why I wear the safety goggles. So I'm going to remove this little piece that she had in there and put in my sanding piece, which is, I use this sanding piece. It all comes, it comes with the Dremel. It comes with a couple of little pieces. I also bought extras. And it's like about $25. Hey, Mona Lisa. Ramona. So, again, to go over it quick, I use 220 grit sandpaper, 400. This just happened to be a block that was on sale, but I also use paper. Sorry, y'all. Messages. And let me disconnect for Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi really sucks, and I always forget to disconnect before I am. Sorry about that. I had to disconnect my Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi really sucks, and I always forget to disconnect before I start my live. So again, I have 220 grit. It comes in sheets, and I cut it into squares. I use 400 grit for my finer sanding. This is just sanding block was on sale, but also use sheets for that. I use an X-Acto knife, my weeding tool, Dremel, which I have the link. It's $25. Acetone, 100% pure acetone. I get it from Walmart in the nail section, or TJ Maxx or Ross, or if it's on sale. Safety glasses, and then I have some paper towels. So there's a couple of different ways. If you don't have a Dremel, you can take the X-Acto knife and carefully, make sure it's in here good, cut off the edge. Which is how I started doing it before I got my Dremel. So you're just cutting the edge, and I don't know if you can see, but it does not really break the seal because it's cutting on the inside and not down on the cup. So I would just follow it around. And cut around. If you have, all you have is the X-Acto knife. But I have a Dremel, so I'm using a Dremel because that's the easier way. I just turn it on the high setting, and then I let it do its work. And it's gonna sand down those bumpy parts really well. If you can see the difference. The battery is kind of low on there. I didn't fully charge my battery. Well, I did fully charge my battery, but my daughter used it on her nails this morning. So, I'll use this as much as it'll let me before it completely dies. This is definitely the easier, less strenuous method. I could choke her, but I need to get her own drill for her nails. So I'm using my X-Acto, and I'm just gonna go around the edge. It's a lot more work. The Dremel does this in like no time, which I absolutely prefer the Dremel. And it's just slicing off the bigger pieces. You want to slice off the bigger humps because they really take forever to sand. And just be careful that you're doing it more on the inside of the cup than on the outside, because you will run the risk of breaking the seal. And take your time when you do it. Do it slow. Don't rush this process. But if you do happen to break the seal, it's okay, because you're going to do another layer of epoxy. Whether you decal or not, with the hanging method, you got to do at least 3, a minimum of 3, but more than likely 4 layers of epoxy. Because when gravity pulls it down, it makes it kind of thin. I really wish my Dremel was charged. Almost done. Alright. I have a turner, but I was doing this method to show people how to do it that don't have a turner. When I first started out, I didn't have a turner. Not everyone wants to invest that money when they first turn out, because like me, I didn't know if this was something I was really going to continue doing, and maybe their funds are allocated other places and they're not able to get a turner. So this is how I used to do mine before I got my turner. But I have a multi-turner and a single turner. So that's now my rim. I've gotten rid of most of the bumpy pieces, right? So now it's time for sanding. I don't wet sand. People wet sand to reduce the dust. I don't wet sand. So you're just gonna, on the inside, sand around, and it's gonna go on the outside too. But when you're cleaning the rim, I always start on the inside. And these can also be used when, it's like I have a turner, but sometimes I still get stuff on the inside. My rim definitely is not this bumpy, or does not have those lumps with the turner, but with the turner you still have to clean. You still have to clean up your edges and the lip of your cup to make sure it's nice and smooth, because if someone takes the top off and you don't tape off your edges, they don't want to put their lips against a rough surface. So, good morning, Brandy. So this is my 220 grit paper. If I had my 120, any more of that, I would definitely use that. It makes it go by quicker. But I don't. And the 220 works just as well. See the inside? It's nice and smooth along the inside. We're still going to sand the outside, but the inside is nice and smooth. Now to clean the inside of my cup, I just use acetone. I'll have a little bit of spray paint and glitter in there. So I just do a few pumps and run it along in there. And all that extra stuff will come up. And then after I'm done sanding, I do take my cup inside and wash it with Dawn dish washing soap. I don't know if y'all can see my paper. See? There. And I can see better what needs to be done on the cup too. So I just have acetone on paper towel. Right now I'm just cleaning the inside. So sand the outside. I'm going to take another 220 grit, and you'll see the cup is going to get really cloudy. It's going to look cloudy after you sand, but once you put that last layer of epoxy on there, it's going to clean back up. And I don't know if y'all can see all the ridges and stuff, but once you sand and you put your last layer, all that's going to go away in the epoxy. When gravity pulls it down, it's just going to be nice and smooth and glassy looking. And see, with the sanding, you can kind of see all the rough part come through. That's why it's important to sand. And you're just going to go around the whole cup. And you just sand around. No, because I'm not sanding on the glitter, I'm sanding the epoxy. This is after 2 layers of epoxy. So I'm not sanding on the glitter. And that's why it's important to make sure you have enough layers of epoxy on here. And when you do your last layer of epoxy, this is using the hanging method, you're going to let your epoxy sit for just a few extra seconds to let it thicken so that it goes on in kind of a thick layer, and it's going to take care of your rough edges on your bottom of the cup. So before you sand using the hanging method, you're going to have a minimum of 2 layers, preferably 3, depending on how much of the glitter you can fill before you do this sanding method. Using the turner, sometimes I've been able to get away with doing 1 layer of epoxy, but most times I have to do 2. but you'll know by how rough your cup feels. I don't like wet sanding. So I don't wet sand. I've tried it, and I mean, it's just a preference, and I don't like it. I like to try out all the different methods and see which ones I like best. So, and as someone had stated in a post earlier, it's not, one person's way is not set in stone. Like, I've watched a ton of videos to see different ways that people do it, and I've done it this way, done it that way, and I find which way works best for me, which is what you'll also do if you're very new to cup making. And I have an apron that I never wear. And I should start. And this is, I mean, sanding is very easy, but when using the hanging method, it can be time consuming. I've seen people use electric sanders, and it helps. I just think of it as an arm workout. And so what I'm going to do is around the outside here, I'm going to sand to get it nice and even and smooth. And I'm still using the 220 grit sandpaper on this. Okay, so I'm pretty much sanded the entire hut, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my 400 grit, and I'm going to go around the top and just a little on the inside and around the whole cup to give it a nice, really smooth finish. So, and just run it back and forth. And then, I don't know, can y'all see that? It's really, really smooth. And then I take it and I go along the inside. Because if you remember, I did some cutting and sanding along the inside. Looks great. I'll try to take some still pictures because I know this isn't the best image. And then I'm just going to go around the entire cut. And this is using a 400 grit. Some people only use one grit. I like how it works using different grits. because the lower the grit number, the rougher it is, so it does a lot more work. And the higher the grit number, the finer it is, and it gives it a lot smoother finish. So I always go over my sanding with the 400. And this is just my way. You'll watch a video of someone sanding and they'll do it completely different. Once you get into the groove of how you like things, your way might be completely different. I watched a video where someone used 400 grit to sand the whole cup, and I tried it and I was like, that's a lot of dang work. So I start out with a higher grit. And then with this sponge, I just rinse it or wash it with warm water and let it air dry really good, and then reuse. Alright, that's that. I'll spray it with alcohol really quick so you guys can see what it looks like sanded. Usually I take it inside and I wash it, but I'm not doing that right now because I had to get back to work. I took a short break to do this and then I gotta log back in. And that's 91% alcohol that I just sprayed on here. So there we go, my sanded cup. And you can see it's a nice dull finish, which it will smooth out and shine back up once I do my finer layer of epoxy. And now my rim is good. And that's it. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I'll answer them throughout the day. Alrighty, y'all have a great day.